So that's one of the things we're doing. There's a new Homestar program that I know your group is very supportive of, to give rebates directly to homeowners or to the contractors they hire. That these are things that create jobs and save energy immediately. We are also open to all ideas on how to make the energy savings, which also should be translated, must be translated directly into money savings, a social norm within the U.S. The Recovery Act is doing other things. There are 30% tax credits on renewables whenever possible. There are 30% tax credits for major clean energy manufacturing projects. I especially want to call out that the tax credits for energy manufacturing and advanced manufacturing in general, because we need to put America back on a path of manufacturing, not to give that away. We should be concentrating on recapturing that market. I think just to drive this point home, the idea, if we look at the American know-how, the American labor market, our ability to manufacture goods, we can and we must get back that leadership. It is essential for our long-term financial well-being in this country. So let me announce some of the other things. In industrial energy efficiency, why do we want industrial energy efficiency? Well, if we expect energy prices will increase in the future, and so the more we can produce products with higher efficiency means the more, first, the less cost for those products in general, but the more competitive they would be on a global market. And so we are investing in the technologies that perhaps could not get an initial start so that we can have very energy efficient things. One example is this new process of processing wood chips into paper that can reduce energy by 40% and chemical use by 50%. These are big deal numbers, and it's something very important, again, for our future competitiveness. So the momentum started with the Recovery Act, but it has to be continued. We have to achieve our long-term energy goals, and we need large-scale deployment of technology. So how does one do that? Well, technology development requires investment, serious investments of capital. Investment flows towards opportunities to make money. And so what we need to do is create those market opportunities through policies that actually tilt those investment flows in a direction that where we can, again, recapture and maintain our leads in other areas, the sectors of high technology manufacturing. So what are examples of investment policies? Well, in Germany, they have a carbon cap, green banks, renewable electricity standards. In Spain, they have a carbon cap, national efficiency targets, and feed-in tariffs. In China, and this is the relative amount of Germany, Spain, China per $1,000 of GDP, China is leading the list here in renewable electricity standards, feed-in tariffs, and tax incentives. So where's the United States? Well, we're here. Okay, so it's no small wonder that we might be falling behind. Look at what happened in wind installations in the United States. It overall is a good story, except for one thing. Those little red bars are the years without a production tax credit. And you notice it goes on again, off again, on again, off again, in a 2-year cycle. There might be a coincidence in why it's a 2-year cycle, but never mind that. In any case, you don't create a sustained industry by going on again, off again. The thing that will sustain investment are something that's a 10-year, 15-year cycle. Europe has learned how to do this, and we have to learn how to do this. Now, this wind industry started very slowly because it was on again, off again, but in 2005, if you looked at the domestic content of the wind material, it was estimated by, there are 3 studies out there, roughly speaking, 25% domestic content. Now the domestic content is over roughly 50%, maybe a little bit and change. Including the installation costs, it's 60%. The way you increase domestic content, there were many ways. First, you encourage people to put in more domestic content. But of course, another driver is the fact that manufacturers, even if it's a foreign manufacturer, like a Mesa, from Europe, Spain. If they set up a manufacturing facility in the United States, they also want local supply chains. They don't want to be as susceptible to currency fluctuations. And so in a large part, it is in their best interest also to have local supply chains. But we, of course, want to encourage that. A Berkeley Lab report on the Recovery Act Renewable Energy Program has said, and this is where this report actually outlines the estimates for the wind content, domestic wind content. It says that that program may have helped directly motivate as much as 2,400 megawatts of wind power capacity to be built that would otherwise not have come online in 2009, creating more than 50,000 jobs. And there's the reference. So this is a very good example of some of the successes of the Recovery Act program. But we need all of these things. We need feed-in tariffs, we need renewable portfolio standards, we need clean fuel standards, we need higher mileage efficiency in our cars. But one of the things we also need is a policy that puts a cap on the carbon, and instead of following a business as usual trajectory, it's going to say we're going to ratchet down that cap. Why is this so important of all the other things? Well, let me put you as a, for instance, suppose you ran a utility company and you have an aging coal plant, it's nearing the end of its life, and you're faced with a decision. And you can build a new conventional coal plant. This will last 50, 60 years. These are now multi-billion-dollar investments. But if you knew there might be a price on carbon and the amount of carbon permitted will ratchet down over the next half century, because this thing will be used over a half century, it would be, you would have to sharpen your pencil and decide, do I build a conventional coal plant, knowing that the price, there will be a price on carbon and it could ratchet up, or do I build a new nuclear plant, or do a wind plant, or do I push energy efficiency and build no plant, or do I build a coal plant with carbon capture and sequestration, or a gas plant, and so on. You're investing for a 60-year period. You have to make those decisions, and so it's the long-term plan that gives the certainty to the investment community, and it gives certainty to the utilities. So what do we do now? Well, everything's on hold. So you put a Band-Aid on your old coal plant and you limp along. While we limp along, other countries are racing forward and building higher efficiency plants that incorporate the new technology. And in fact, I was talking with a CEO of Southern just the other day, and they are getting a little squeamish about a gasification coal plant that will allow them to capture carbon. It will be the first commercial scale gas plant that would capture carbon dioxide. It's a gasification of coal. It will be the first commercial scale IGCC plant that would capture the majority of the carbon. Southern sold but licensed the intellectual property for that plan to China. China is building one. And I said, but here's the problem. China builds the plant. China operates the plant. They learn very important lessons in the operation of the plant, and so they can develop and improve upon that technology. And that's being done in China. But they're saying, well, the rate commissions are a little squeamish about this. The initial costs are going to be high, and we're stalemated. So this is yet another example of what we're doing. So again, let me repeat, the cost of oil and other forms of energy, I believe, will rise in the coming decades. I think the risks of climate change are becoming increasingly apparent, and we will live in a carbon-constrained world. And so China and the European countries see this economic opportunity, the opportunity to lead in what essentially has to be this new industrial revolution, and they're moving aggressively. Because if they develop these products at home, these factories and power plants and everything at home, they know they can export them as well. So now, I still think the United States has the best research, development, and innovation ability in the world. As long as we set the government policies correctly, U.S. labor, U.S. companies, U.S. research and development organizations, the universities, national laboratories will respond. And if we do all of these things, we will be making, inventing, producing that stuff that the rest of the world would need. But time is running out, and the train's leaving the station. Thank you.